All right, guys, so we've been using a lot of Flexbox, and that's what I tend to do when I use Tailwind, unless we have a specific layout like this, where obviously this would be better to use the grid, right? Because we have different sized columns and rows. It's a two-dimensional layout. If I just need three even width columns, then I would probably just use display flex, or the flex class, I should say. But for something like this, you should reach for the grid classes. So that's why I wanted to do this little project. Basically, we have this testimonial grid, so they're just boxes with testimonials, different colors and stuff. We have this quotes SVG for the background on the first one, and the plan is to just create all the boxes or cards or whatever you want to call them, so they're just all on top of each other like this. And this is how we want it to look on small screens. Obviously, we can't have this layout on a mobile device, but we're going to start off by just creating this first, this whole thing, just all the cards, and then we'll go in and we'll add the specific classes like grid. We'll also add the spans, because obviously this one here spans two columns, this one spans two rows, so we'll be using those classes as well. And then at the very end, we're going to install a plugin, because I want to just give you an example of installing and using a plugin, and it's called Line Clamp, which will truncate your text. So you can see this text here ends with ... This is really longer, but we're going to use the Line Clamp plugin to truncate the text. And maybe you would then have like a read more button that would take you to the full text or something like that. All right, so that's what we'll be building. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, guys, so the setup for this project is going to be pretty simple. Let's go ahead and create a new folder. Well, not create a new folder. Let's copy our Tailwind starter, and then we'll rename that. And I'm going to call it grid dash, or let's call it testimonial grid. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and open that up with VS Code or whatever text editor you're using. And we can go ahead and just run the index.html. First of all, we need to start up the CLI, so let's do that. npm run watch. And then we can run this, open this file up with live server. Let's put this first. All right, so as far as config goes, not much. I am going to put our custom screens. So for small, we'll do 480. For medium, let's do our 768 pixels. And for large, do 976 pixels. And for extra large, we'll do 1440 pixels. Okay, make sure you put a comma there. And then the only other thing that we want to extend is the font family. So let's say font family, and we're going to add the sans stack, which is going to be, we're using Barlow semi-condensed. So Barlow semi-condensed sans serif. All right, so now we need to get that font. So I'm going to go to Google Fonts. Oops. Let's see, grab that and Google Fonts. And let's just search for, actually, let me remove this, and then I'm going to search for Barlow. So we want this one right here, Barlow semi-condensed. And let's see, we're going to grab the 500. Actually, let's get 400, 500, which is medium, and 600, which is semi-bold. All right, so we'll grab that link and copy it. Let's throw that up here. Save it. There we go. And then the images, we do have some images, so let's grab those. So in the finished projects, we have our all project assets, and testimonial grid. So we just want to bring these images over to the root. Copy that. Okay, and those images are basically just the profile pictures. And we have the quotes, the SVG for the quotes, favicon if you want to use it. But yeah, so I think we're all set. Now, like I said in the intro, what we're going to do is start off by just creating the cards and not using any grid classes. And then we'll go in, we'll create a grid, and we'll add all the column and row spans. Okay, so in this video, we're going to just set up the first box, so this one right here, and then what we'll do is just copy that, and we'll just change things up like the coloring. The first box is the only one that has the quotes as well, so keep that in mind. And then once we get all that done, we'll create this layout with the grid classes. So let's start off here with the title. We're going to change that to testimonial grid. And then on the body, I want to add a background class, so we're going to do gray-200. And then let's get rid of this whole H1, and we want our global container. Okay, so global container, we're going to do a container class. Let's do MX Auto to move it to the middle. And then the max width on this is going to be 7XL. And let's do padding all the way around. And then on medium screens, I just want to set padding to 10 instead of 2. All right, so that's our global container. Then we're going to have what will be our grid container. Okay, we're going to use the grid class, but we're not going to do that just yet. For now, it's just going to have a class of text white, just because most of the text is white, because most of it is dark background, it's aside from this one and this one. So now in the grid, we're going to want our first box. So let's say box 1, and we're going to give this a relative position. We're going to position relative because the quotes here are going to be positioned absolute. Okay, so we want to make this relative. And then let's do P padding 10, and let's say rounded XL, and then BG dash purple dash 700. And if you want to mess around with the colors and stuff, of course, you can do that. So the first thing we'll put in here will be the quotes image. And I have that as an SVG file, but again, I would most likely advise you to put the SVG directly in the HTML, but I want to keep things nice and clean for us. So the image, we want to position that absolute within the relative container. The actual positioning, we're going to do top 3 and right 10 on small screens. And then we're going to just scale, let's say scale 125 up from 100. And then on medium screens, we're going to position it a little bit differently. We're going to do top 7, and also on medium screens, we're going to do right dash 24, and we'll also do a scale of 150. And the image itself is going to be in the images folder, and it's BG pattern quotation. So let's go ahead and check ours out. So that's what it's going to look like so far. Now we're going to have a header for each one, and that's going to be this right here, the image, the name, and then I guess the position. They're all verified graduate. So that's going to be the header of the box. We'll say box header. And we're going to make that a flex box. We're going to add a Z index. We're going to do Z10 because we want the text. We always want to make sure it's on top of the quotes image. So we're going to do that, and then space between X items 4. And first thing is the image of the person, and we're going to do a width. So let's say width W10, and height is also going to be 10. We want those to be the same, and it's going to be a circular image or rounded image, so we want to use the rounded full class for that. And then for the border, we're actually going to use a ring. So we'll say ring 2. This works just like a border. It's just like an inset border. And then for the color, we'll say ring purple dash 300. And then the image itself, this is Daniel, so it's going to be image Daniel. We save that, Okay, we can see his image. Now underneath that, we're going to have a div with the class of text small or text SM, and that's where the name and the position are going to go. So for the name, we'll do an H4. We're going to also lower the opacity slightly. We're going to do 90 here, and then put his name, which is Daniel Clifford. And then under that, we'll have a paragraph, and we'll make that a little lighter with opacity 50. And that's going to be verified graduate. If I save that, that's what it's going to look like. Now we have the two text pieces, the large text and small text. You want to make sure we go out of the box header, which ends right here. And let's say this will be large text, and then under that we'll have our small text. All right, so for the large text, we're going to have a paragraph. We're going to make it relative and add Z10, again, just so it's over the quotes. And then a margin top 6. And let's make the text extra large. And then I'll grab that real quick, paste that in. Okay, so it should look like that. And then for the smaller text, that'll be a paragraph, and we're gonna do margin top 6. And we want it to be lighter, so we're going to do an opacity 50. And then we'll paste that in. And these are going to be within quotes. Okay, so that's our first box. If we stretch it out, it's just going to go as wide as the container. And that's fine for now. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and we'll create the rest of the boxes based off of this one.